Yes.
Start? Okay. So yeah, we'll talk about job, but I will not talk about the suffering of job. I feel I'm not qualified to talk about the suffering, so yeah. Okay, let's start. I have a friend and he has 3 kids. So he named his second kid the name Kezia, which is the name of Job's second daughter. I never asked her why he gave this name. However, when I recently read the book of Job, when I noticed the ending part where it mentions Job regained another group of sons and daughters, my attention was drawn to the mentioning of Job's 3 daughters with their names, unlike the 7 sons. And what's more intriguing is that Job granted inheritances to the daughters alongside with the sons as well. Many consider the ending as merely telling about the restoration of Job's household and possessions, yet I think it signifies much more. It highlights a profound transformation in the character of Job following the sufferings. Actions speak louder than words. The significant changes in Job's conduct will be the focus of today's message. So before diving into our 2 passages to see what has changed, let's first walk through the book of Job for the background. The overall theme of Job is why the righteous suffer. The strange conversation between Job and Satan started all Job's suffering. He lost everything, his household, his possession, and his sons and daughters, and he even lost his house. So miserable was Job that his friend didn't even recognize him. So when they came to comfort him, try to comfort Job, all the words sounded more and more brutal, causing more pain and even humiliation to Job. For they thought, Job, you must have done something evil or you have sinned, so you deserve the punishment of God. Now all Job wanted was a response from God and about why. Why it looked like God is against Job. Why does God bother to pay attention to humankind, which is so insignificant and was almost nothing compared to God? In the end, God indeed spoke to Job. However, God's answer seems to be irrelevant to Job's circumstances. He threw back more questions to Job, like, what do you know about my works of creation? And are you able to do those things I'm able to? Of course, those questions are rhetorical questions. Yet somehow we notice that Job was satisfied and repented his speeches against God. He considered himself nothing but dust and ashes, just like Abraham did before God when he interceded for the city of Sodom. Now let's compare the 2 passages. The first passage describes Job as an exceptional man, using 4 phrases: blameless, upright, God-fearing, and turning from evil. So no other figures in the Bible is ever introduced quite like Job. And he also receives abundant blessings from God, emphasized by those numbers we know, like 7 sons, 3 daughters, and 7,000, 3,000, those different kind of animals. Then in verse 4 and 5, we gain further insights into Job's life. His sons regularly hold feasts in their own houses and always invites their sisters to join. However, Job appears to be absent from those gatherings. Perhaps it's because he is such an honorable patriarch, or he wants his children to enjoy the celebrations to the fullest without his presence. Or more sadly, maybe his children doesn't invite him at all. But verse 5 tells us that Job would always rise early in the morning to offer burnt offerings to consecrate his children after they finished feasting. For Job thinks it may be that his children may have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. So as the head of the family, Job feels responsible for his children's faith. The preemptive offerings also reveal his anxiety about them. So I recall my own childhood experience of going to Sunday school. My mom is a devout Christian. She thought the best way to love me was to help me build up my own faith. And for her, going to church regularly was the bottom line. Everything would be okay if I went to Sunday school. I remember I only missed 2 times to go to Sunday school on purpose, which really made my mom worried and also earned me some punishment. So from both Job and my mom, I see the common parental love for the child in trying to guide the child to the right way of God. But this love is also accompanied by great anxiety and fear about the potential risks. The risk that the child may sin against God, and the risk that the child could have become a prodigal child. Behind the anxiety, I think it's a raw theological presumption. The world actually is so orderly that if we do the right thing, and we can avoid those unpleasant risks. But this assumption very soon proves to be wrong for Job. The blameless, upright man underwent maybe the worst sufferings. Using all his strength and mind, he could not figure out one reason why those happened. He did all the right thing before God, for himself and also for his children. He deserved to continue his happy life with children. But everything was taken away from him in one day, except for his wretched rest. Then in the second passage, Job was again blessed with 7 sons and 3 daughters. The 3 daughters were the most beautiful in all the land. He named them Jemimah, Keziah, and Karen Hapuk. The meanings of those names are beautiful, which means dove, cinnamon, and horn eyeshadow. The end of the passage tells us that Job gave them inheritance as well. So what can we see by comparing these 2 texts? First, we can see Job embraces life once more, despite its inherent risks and uncertainties. As someone who isn't a parent, I can only try to fathom the depths of the pain Job must have felt upon losing all his children. The grief must have been so immense and enduring, and it could just render Job unable to return to his normal lives, let alone have the motivation and the courage to have more children. Before we see Job has cursed his own existence, his birth, and he considered death better than life. But now, he gave birth to 10 children. Yet he has no guarantee of immunity from the future tragedies or any risks. So I see this as a compelling evidence of Job's transformation. Second, Job takes great delight in his children as a father, instead of being so anxious about their fate as a patriarch. This is evident in the way Job named his 3 daughters. Each of these names evokes the beauty of nature. By bestowing such evocative names upon his daughters, Job openly acknowledges and celebrates their inherent beauty. Every time when he calls his daughters those names, I think it's a reaffirmation of their loveliness and it filled with profound joy. Perhaps there were moments when Job could question by himself, have I done something to deserve such a blessing of those three beautiful daughters? I think deep within his heart, the answer is no. He understands that the blessing is purely God's grace. Nothing has done merits it. He humbly recognizes his own insignificance, just like dust and ashes, yet acknowledges that the Lord of all creation still showers his love on him, and no less than the love he shows to other creations. We remember Jesus teaches that the wild flowers and the grass which flourish briefly in the fields, yet they are adorned with magnificent beauty by God. This serves as a reminder of God's extravagant love for his creations. Thirdly, having experienced the depths of God's extravagant love, Job extends great grace towards his children. This is evidenced by his decision to grant inheritance to his daughters, a very rare and unconventional act in the patriarchal society of his time. So we can look to the case of the daughters of Zelophehad, that in Numbers 27, verse 8, and 36, verse 2 to 3. So when a man died without sons, his inheritance typically passed down to his daughters. However, these daughters are required to only marry within their own tribes to prevent the inheritance from leaving the tribe. Job, having 7 sons, was not obligated to provide any inheritance to his daughters. And in fact, he may have been advised against this idea. By giving inheritance to his daughters, Job risked losing their wealth to other families upon his daughter's marriage. This decision could have caused dissatisfaction among his sons, or even invited criticism from others who might perceive it as squandering his possessions. We see the same criticism in the story of the prodigal son, where the older son resents his father's lavish celebration for his wayward younger brother. Similarly, also in the account of the woman who poured very costly ointment on Jesus. Some people said very angrily, why was the ointment wasted like that? Very similarly, back to our story. When we consider this potential cost that Job faced when he decided to give the inheritance to his daughters, this is the act that reflects his generous love for his daughters, and again, the extravagance of his love. So, brothers and sisters, regardless whether you have encountered suffering, whether you are currently working through hardships and seeking a way out, or you are grappling with the uncertainties of the future, my hope is that this extravagant love of God will resonate within your heart. I firmly believe that this love is the ultimate answer. This love is expressed all over the Bible. Like Psalm 8, verse 4, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you care for him? Psalm 63, verse 3, because your steadfast love is better than life, my lips will praise. So what have we humans to deserve the love of God? This love of God is much better than even life itself. It's better than anything we could ever imagine in this world, because God is the ultimate good. And this love reaches its summit in Jesus Christ. John 3:16. For God so loved the world, and he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Romans 8:32. He who did not spare his own son but gave him up for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? So can we really imagine the depths of this love? With what human love can we compare? So I hope this can help us to, when we are facing with all the potential risks of life, yet we can still choose to love. And the message that Jesus speaks, to love your enemy, to love those people you think they don't deserve your love. So it's hard, but still, I think with the love we experience from God, we can also choose to love.
Joseph, we thank him for exploring an important text for us. I know that I've been doing some study in Job as well, and then when he was doing his exegetical paper and his sermon draft, I said, wow, there's a lot of insight, especially about the daughters that he brought up. So in terms of good explanation of the text, a lot of insight and explanation, it just came to me, like his Job's wife was preserved outside of the family, and assuming that 10 more children came from Job and his wife. Usually we think that she was a complainer or another role, but that just reinforced the important role here of family. You used yourself as illustration, so helped us to understand, and also brought in the parental loss, something that could be explored in the passage as well. So you brought good news from this passage, which sometimes, especially in the story of Job, it gets overshadowed by God, overshadows like Job's response as well as his friends. But I like how you brought out the good news, and particularly focusing on Job in his transformation from the beginning to the end. So this growth would be less reading. I think you probably struggled with that because it had a lot of details this time. And we missed a Chinese story this time. Which you might think about that because as you're talking about more cultural audience, bringing out a story with your parent and with your mother is good, but maybe if you can think of something that in history or story or what we call four character types of expression, that may have added to it and connected additionally with your audience. Thank you very much. I thought that was I think we learned a lot about Job today.